everybody, BionicDance here. So, I've been thinking about communication on the internet and how it can be awfully difficult, especially when it's solely in text. See, I had a conversation that could easily have turned into a fight this morning. This was on Facebook. Thankfully, it didn't turn into a fight, but I've had enough conversations like it where it did turn into a fight eventually that, honestly, I feel the need to talk about it. You see, and I'm not going to go into the details because this was actually with an in-person friend of mine that I had this discussion, and it's kind of a personal nature, and I don't feel the need to air his dirty laundry out for everyone to see. But basically what had happened, we were talking about a certain topic, and he said two things in two different replies to me that seemed contradictory. It seemed like in one place he was saying he had done something, and in another place he was saying he hadn't. And the fact is that there was a crucial bit of information that I didn't have that tied those two things together that made them make perfect sense. Seriously, perfect sense. They seemed contradictory. They really weren't. I guarantee it. And so what I said to him at first was, that seems kind of contradictory. I don't understand. And it seemed like he was about to take that as confrontation. It seemed like he was about to take it as roar. And it wasn't that. It was just me going, I don't get it. But because it was in text, well, I mean, think about it. If you say to somebody, that seems contradictory, I don't understand, in text, that could just be, like I just said it, or it could be, that seems contradictory, you know? I mean, how do you tell the way someone means it in text? It's difficult, you know? And I'm sure a lot of fights on the internet could have been avoided if we could have had tone of voice and mannerism to go with. Now, I followed that up with, well, here's what you said, here's what I said, here was your reply, and you can see how these two don't match up, right? And he actually said, oh, yeah, here's that bit of information you didn't have. And I went, oh, I get it now. Okay, thank you. And the conversation moved on, you see. And so that is how it should go. But that is how it so rarely does go on the internet. So rarely. Usually, well, it seems like what people are after is not understanding, but rather victory. And as I understand it, there are studies out there where that's actually part of human nature. That scientists have found that, yeah, a lot of our purpose is not to understand, but to win. It is not to learn about the world, but to achieve victory, you see. And I'm running into that a lot right now in a conversation, well, a number of conversations that I'm having on Facebook in wake of these Aurora, Colorado shootings. The whole, gun control debate is getting kind of out of hand. And by the way, do not discuss that in the comment section because I do not want to find a flame war when I go looking at these comments. But point is that it sure seems like people are really allergic, I guess, mentally allergic to not, or to seeing other people's point of view if it might possibly mean that your own worldview has to change. And that's a real problem. There has to be a way to solve that. There has to be a way to get us away from that because, well, it seems to me that very little can get solved if everyone is staking out territory rather than trying to find out what the world is really like. I mean, that sure seems to be the whole atheist-theist thing. I mean, I'm willing to bet that there are theists out there who are fighting to the death for their theism, not because they still believe it. Maybe they've looked at the evidence and gone, oh God, they have a point, but to save face because they don't want to have to admit that they were wrong all this time about their theism, you know? I mean, when I'm actually wrong, actually factually wrong about something, I do try to admit it. A lot of people seem to think I can't. But, well, when I've made a mistake, I'll say yes. Okay, prime example. yesterday I did kind of a stupid thing. I was trying to eat healthy, and so I was going to have a Granny Smith apple. Put the plate on my lap, and I was about to cut the apple. Plate slipped, and I tried to catch it, and I still had the knife in my hand, and stabbed the knife right into my right leg, just above the knee. Ow, by the way. That is something that most people probably shouldn't do. Knife went in, I've been saying an inch, but I just looked at a tape measure and it was actually probably close to half an inch, actually. Again, whoops, my bad. So, accidentally stabbed myself, been misrepresenting how far the knife went in, discovered these mistakes, and and said, whoops, my bad. By the way, also, whoops, my bad, don't do this to emphasize and accidentally hit where you just cut yourself. Bad move. Toddled up to the doctors. They said it doesn't need stitches. It might scar, but hell, I'm not about to be a go-go dancer anytime soon or a fucking fashion model, so, I'll accept the scar. Point being, I've got a bandage over it now. It's taking a while to scab over. But my mistake. And I'll admit it. Because, if people could admit their mistakes a bit more often, instead of staking out territory. I mean, that is part of science, isn't it? Is learning about the world. What was it? Oh, I'm trying to remember who said it now. There was a scientist, it might have been, oh golly, I can't remember now. Again, my bad. But there was a scientist who was told, hey, you haven't discovered this thing yet, and you're trying, and the scientist goes, well, I haven't failed. I've just discovered a whole bunch of ways that didn't work, and kept on trying. I mean, that's the point, though, is that I've discovered a lot of ways that don't work, and I freely admit it, because doing so is a way of learning about the universe and eventually succeeding at something. Discovering the right answer involves being able to admit that you were wrong and made mistakes the first few times you tried. That's really what critical thinking, skepticism is all about. That's part of why a lot of us argue against religion, but also why a lot of us are agnostics and atheists, because we have not found evidence of a deity yet, and we're still looking for the information. A lot of us say, I've said it many times, if you can prove to me that a God exists, make faith no longer an issue, and prove to me that a God exists, I'll admit, whoops, my bad, there really is a God. I just didn't have the evidence to be able to say there was one. Now that I have the evidence, I will admit my error, and I will say, yes, there is a God. I will say that if I have the information to be able to do so. So, admitting error is just, it's such a matter of pride for some people that they will not do it. And, it also, the sheer number of times where people are like, they've got their position, and they're so stuck to it, they're so married to that position, that they will say, well, you're not admitting your error, when they've already been proven wrong. I don't know, it's such a minefield, I guess. But anyway, the whole point was that communication on the internet seems to be less about information, and it seems to be really difficult in text. So those two things combined, where it's all about saving face and proving you're right, and at the same time not being able to tell what somebody means when they say something because you don't have all the nuance that comes with in-person communication, and then coupled with the fact that, well, you can pretty much say whatever the hell you like, however the hell you like on the internet because you're not likely to get punched. Well, why do we even use the internet as a communication tool at all? I mean, okay, yeah, we do it, but and I can see some of the benefits, but at the same time, well, I think it holds us back to a certain degree, don't you? Anyway, this is just a ramble thing that has been kind of bothering me the last 2 days, and I thought I'd get it off my chest. Yeah. Anyway, this is BionicDance saying, see you later, fellow space travelers. Have fun.
Please take the time to rate this video. And hey, if you dig what I do, subscribe. And please visit my Zazzle store, where you'll find all kinds of BionicDance merchandise. So, who wants cake? You have to rate first.